for Catch Your Breath 60. How's everyone today? So, my handle at Catch Your Breath 60 is used for Instagram, Facebook, and now YouTube. Those are my biggest. Sites to appear on. And so, I used to do my tea time on. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust my camera here. I used to do my tea time lives on Facebook, but I had some problems with Facebook, and I wasn't. Hi, Janice. I wasn't enjoying it too much. I had too many problems and glitches with Facebook. So here we are at YouTube, and I love being on YouTube. So when I went Sunday to talk to my group on Facebook, which we have a Facebook page and a Facebook exercise group at Catch Your Breath 60, everybody has requested, hi Beverly, everyone has requested that I talk again about shortness of breath. So this is a common thing for us. As we get older, as we're aging, we're over 65, you might find that you also have a decline in lung function. And it's totally normal. But if you have COPD or heart failure, your episodes of shortness of breath are going to get worse. And we know this innately that as soon as your COPD starts to progress, your episodes of shortness of breath get worse. And they're very anxiety provoking. One of the things that we have to do when we have shortness of breath is we have to learn to manage it. Now, this is easier said than done, believe me when I tell you that. But we have to learn to advocate for ourselves. We have to be proactive in how we feel, what we do, and how we listen to the chatter that's going on around us. Nobody knows what it's like to have COPD unless you have COPD. Nobody can understand what the shortness of breath means to us and the anxiety that it provokes. And people can say lots of things about COPD, about shortness of breath and how they would manage it. But until you have a decline in your lung function, you really and truly cannot, you can't give me your opinion. I'm not interested in other people's opinion. And I try to drown out the chatter that is coming at me when I have episodes of shortness of breath. Everybody, isn't it funny how everybody thinks that they know better than you do? Everybody tells me, you're okay, you'll get past this. This isn't a big deal. No, it's okay. Well, I'm thinking that I'm going to die, really. The first thought that comes to my mind when I get so short of breath is I'm going to die. And I don't think that that's unusual. I think it's a normal thing. I think this is the problem that causes the anxiety when we get short of breath, is that we really think we're going to die. Now, I know we've been short of breath before. I get it. We've all suffered from shortness of breath from the time that we were a kid playing tag on the front lawn. But this is just a little bit different. We have decline in our lung function, and remember that we have an obstructive lung disease. So with an obstructive lung disease, it means that the air gets trapped in our lungs and we're unable to get rid of it. So gasping through your mouth and working at getting air in is not going to work until you get rid of the air that is stale and inside of you. A couple of ways that we can do that. We can take control and manage our COPD and chronic illness. Each of us is unique, and we must understand that we are unique in our situation. And anybody who says that they know what you're going through, it takes my breath away when I hear that. It just cuts me to the quick, because they don't know what I'm going through. Nobody knows unless they have it themselves. So I know you guys know, I know my followers know, but people outside do not know. And this is why we have to learn to advocate for ourselves. I know your doctor knows. I get it. He's a very educated person, he or she. Sorry, I don't mean to say, doctors are all guys. They're not. Mine just is, that's all. Very educated people. But they still don't understand the mechanics of being so short of breath. So we have to advocate for ourselves, and we have to take control, because nobody knows us like we do. And just because you have COPD and I have COPD doesn't mean that we have the same symptoms. It doesn't mean that the symptoms are as severe. It doesn't mean anything, because from day to day, my lung function can change. And I know this is true because weather is one of the biggest factors. And we talked about that too earlier, right? About how weather plays a really big role. The days that are the worst for me are rainy days and high humidity days. The cold is not good for me. And if I get out in the cold, I try to put something over my face. This is normally when I start wearing a mask, because it just helps that cold air from not going into my nose, or down into my lungs, where my lungs will then kind of freeze, right? So because nobody knows us like us, we are the only ones who can say what happens and how it happens. And we have to learn to start speaking up for ourselves. Why don't we do that? Why do we let people gloat us into doing the things that they want to do, or they want us to do? It's not fair. It's not fair, and it's not right. So we need to start from where we go to the doctors. We need to start to advocate for ourselves in our social circles, in everywhere, and forget the chatter that's going on in the background. When shortness of breath episodes happen, and they will happen a lot of times, like as we are moving around, as we are doing chores, as we are going from day to day stuff, right? Episodes of shortness of breath will happen. We have to recognize the triggers that happen with shortness of breath. We must understand what is happening. Everybody will feel it just a little bit different, and it's not always a gasping for air. Sometimes it's a butterfly in your stomach. Sometimes it's your heart starts pounding. I know with myself, and because I have heart failure with COPD, and sometimes when I'm entering an episode of shortness of breath, my heart starts to pound like crazy. It kind of feels like it's a funny feeling. It kind of feels like butterflies, right? And that was the thing that happened when I had that led to my sudden cardiac arrest. So this feeling in my chest, like it was just pounding, right? So I can go to the bathroom and I can be short of breath, believe me. And my house is not that big, but I can also find a chair to position myself in, and use the tools that are given to us. We have to recognize what is happening. Kathy, if you feel like your heart is going through your chest, you need to talk to your doctor. And these are symptoms that need to be written down, and they need to be discussed with your doctor. One of the things about COPD and constant shortness of breath will lead to heart failure. And this is one of the things that we don't want to happen, right? Because there's no cure for heart failure. Once you've been diagnosed with heart failure, and it can happen from excessively being short of breath. This is exactly what happened to me. I was not accepting it. I would not quit work. I wanted to work. I wanted my independence. I wanted my freedom. I wanted my financial independence. And I was in no way ready to quit work. So I continued on to work. And I continued on not being able to catch my breath. And my lung function was declining. I was not paying attention to it. And I had a second cardiac arrest. Then I had a third cardiac arrest. And the doctor came into me and he pointed his finger and he said, "This is your fault for not wearing your oxygen." And I said, "Okay, all right." So, yeah, if you're feeling like your heart is coming out of your chest, you need to talk to your doctor about that. There are some tests that they can do, and it might be nothing. Who knows, right? It might be nothing, but it's well worth looking into it. So recognizing what's happening and knowing the triggers that cause shortness of breath help you to understand and overcome these episodes that are debilitating, absolutely debilitating. We have to plan carefully, but also be flexible. We have to learn to go slower. One of the hardest things for people to understand. And when I say to people, you have to go slower, they say, "I can't." Well, then you have to decide whether can't get my oxygen on. You have to decide then what you're willing to put up with. Are you willing to risk having heart failure? Are you willing to risk continuous episodes of shortness of breath? If you are, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not, all you have to do is learn to go a little slower. You're going to be slower. You're getting old. You're aging. It is in the cards. It's what it is, right? I don't care if you're 40. You're not going to be able to do what you did when you were 30. And that's just the long and short of it. So we have to learn to go slower, to pay attention to the triggers that our body is giving us. We have to be willing to use the tools that we are given. So one of the tools that I was given was a walker. And I hear people saying all the time, "I wouldn't use a walker. I would never use a walker." Well, I wouldn't use one either. Where did that get me and what did that serve? Absolutely nothing. Now, when I'm sick, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm having a bad day, first thing I say to my husband, "Can you get me my walker?" Now, that serves a couple of things, because now he knows that I'm having a bad day. And he knows that I'm not going to be doing much for the rest of the day. And I really find that My house isn't that big, but going to the bathroom, I can get short of breath. Having the walker really helps me. It just helps me to stave off the shortness of breath. What it does is it helps you to carry those upper body muscles, right? That are so compromised and get um, so abused with day-to-day activities. So using the tools that were given to you is vitally, vitally important. Oxygen is another tool that is given to you. Now, oxygen's not for everybody. Oxygen is a drug, and it's not meant for everybody, but it is meant for certain people. And if your doctor has ordered it, you should be using it. I'll tell you that I've been through all of this. Before I finished working, I had to take my walker to work. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get from my parking spot to my classroom if I didn't use it, so I had to use it. And you know what happened when I walked in that day, the first day with my walker? Absolutely nothing. A couple of days before I left work, I had to wear oxygen. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. After the first, kind of people were a little shocked at first because they didn't expect this to happen, but it did. So they took one look at me, and the next minute it was fine. Now they're used to it, right? And now if I'm not wearing oxygen, people are like, where's your oxygen? Why are you not wearing it, right? So that's the thing about using the tools that you were given. Make sure that wherever you're traveling, whether it's through the house, whether it's someplace else, you have a chair to sit in. Because one of the main ways to manage your shortness of breath is to position yourself. So we can position ourselves with leaning forward with our hands on our knees, but it takes a certain amount of effort to do that. Having a chair is a much easier solution. And if you have a walker, you can turn it around and sit on it, because I think all walkers, I don't know, does anybody have a walker that doesn't have a seat on it? I think all walkers have seats on them. So I use a walker quite a bit, and you'll probably see it in the background there. I use it in the house when I have to, and I do it unshamedly. And now everybody they get used to seeing my walker in the house. Nobody cares. My grandson hops on it, and he'll say, "Okay, Poppy, take me for a ride, will ya?" And they go up and down the hall. My husband pushes them up and down the hall, because whatever he wants, he gets when he asks his Poppy. Some days are worse than others. Know those days that it's not good. Know the days that are bad days, and allow them to happen. Don't be pushing through and then expecting somebody to say thank you, because nobody cares. You are your only advocate. You have to take care of yourself. If you're not feeling up to it, don't do it. Save yourself for the days when you can do it, and then you will be more successful and you will be more satisfied. Does it really matter if you take a day to sit and read a book? Probably not, right? I mean, honestly, we don't have small kids. What is the big deal about sitting down for an afternoon and reading a book or finding a good movie to watch? Why can't we do that? Just do it. Give yourself permission. And because you know what? Guilt serves no purpose. It absolutely serves no purpose at all. So stop being guilty about it and do what you need to do. Do what you can every day without overdoing it. That's the key, really. Plan your outings, know what they look like. So I have to go for an ultrasound in a couple of weeks. And the first thing that I did was I got on the website to see what the place looked like. How do I get into it? Where is it from the entrance? How far do I have to go? Is parking easy? Because if parking's not easy, then what's the point, right? If I have to go all over for parking, I got to be able to park at the front door. Well, I mean, my husband has to park at the front door because otherwise I'm not walking. So know where you're going and plan your outings. I think for most of us, we don't go out too much when the weather's really bad. I don't know. I guess if you're single and you didn't have my husband, you would have to go for things like groceries. Although we can order them online now, which isn't a bad deal at all. We order from Walmart quite a bit. I think Fortino's is a store that's close to us. I think a lot of people, and there is Instant Cart too, right? So if getting groceries is an issue for you, consider ordering them online. They might be a little bit more expensive. I'm not sure about that. But the thing is this, we're not buying for a family anymore. We're buying for one or two people. Ordering online is a good deal. Often they will come and deliver them to your door. And Bob's your uncle. When I order online, I like to treat myself. I like to give myself a little treat. So I always get something that's really good, especially if I'm ordering today and I'm not getting it till Friday. Get myself a treat. Well, shouldn't do that, but because carbs aren't good for us. But hey, and it also causes shortness of breath. But hey. So the minute you start to feel short of breath, you have to choose how you will handle this episode. And you have to change how you respond to the episode. It's vitally important. You have to decide in a split second. Now, go back a bit. Plan. Position yourself. Use pursed lip breathing. Planning for episodes of shortness of breath means that you have a chair within reach. Making sure that you're sitting down or that you have some place to sit or position yourself in a recovery position. And start using pursed lip breathing. So plan, position, pursed lip breathing. Use positive self-talk. This is no time for you to start saying, I'm such an idiot. Why did I let this happen to me? Stop. Acknowledge what has happened and why it happened. So I was cleaning the bathroom counter and I was standing for too long and I got short of breath. What's negative about that? Absolutely nothing. So stop. No negative self-talk. You have to sit down, position yourself, and positive self-talk only. You're going to survive. You always have survived in the past, and you will survive this episode as well. The minute you get short of breath, you decide how this is going to go. Your brain will send past episodes to you to say, the last time you did this, you panicked, you screamed, you cried, you pounded your fists, you made it worse than it had to be. And I think that's what you need to do now. No, it's not. Stop listening to what your brain is saying. Overcome that. You can do it. Sometimes it's distraction that helps to keep your anxiety at bay. And I've had to do this before, distracting myself and just letting my breath catch up. Count backwards. I use that also at night When I can't sleep, I count backwards. It's interesting. Sometimes I count backwards by threes, and that is really interesting because that's really hard for me to do. Using visual imagery. So, picturing yourself on the best vacation you've ever been. For me, I picture myself with my grandson, and that really helps me to get through because it's always positive. Use your five senses: see, hear, smell, feel, taste. Using your mind to focus on one thing. So I have my red book here, and that's what I focus on. I focus on it. I read the title over and over again. If I get hit by a bus, if I get hit by a bus, if I get hit by a bus, if I get hit by a bus. I don't necessarily say it out loud, but what I do is say it over and over and over again in my mind. It's just a way to distract ourselves, to keep our mind off of our breath and wait for ourselves to recover. Allow yourself to concentrate on something other than your shortness of breath. It will have a fabulous effect for you. Using mindfulness allows us to keep aware of this moment because all there is this moment. Stop thinking about your past. Do not worry about what the future will bring. Stay in this moment. This is all there is. It helps to keep us aware of what is happening and allows us to reset our thinking. I hope in some small way this helps you to manage your shortness of breath. Please leave a comment below and tell me what you would like to learn or talk about for future tea times. If you like and subscribe, you will get a notification when I go live next time. This is Barbara Moore for Catch Your Breath 60, and I appreciate everybody who has come today. Thank you.